Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fundamental question about faith, one that has challenged thinkers for, well, centuries.
So let's just jump right in with the big one, right? If you can't prove God exists with cold, hard evidence, does that make believing in God irrational? For a really long time, a lot of philosophers would have given you a pretty straightforward answer. Yep, it is.
In this idea, it actually has a name. It's called evidentialism. It's basically the rule that says for any belief to be considered rational, you have to back it up with sufficient evidence or solid arguments. No proof, no rational belief. Simple as that.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. We're going to look at two absolute titans who push back hard against evidentialism, but for totally different reasons. On one side, you have the philosopher Alvin Plantinga. On the other, the theologian Karl Barth. They both end up in a similar place, that you don't need proof, but the paths they take to get there, wow, they couldn't be more different.
So first up, let's talk about Plantinga. It's really important to get this. His main goal wasn't to prove that God exists. Instead, he wanted to show that the person who believes in God isn't being irrational. He's defending the believer.
Plantinga's approach is super methodical. You can think of it as a three-step plan. First, he goes on the attack. He challenges that old, stuffy rule that demands proof for pretty much every belief. Then, he establishes a new rule. He argues that belief in God is properly basic. So what does that mean? Well, think about it. You don't need an argument to believe that other people have minds or that the past really happened. You just kind of start there. Those are basic. And finally, he explains the how. He suggests we humans have a kind of built-in sensus divinitatis, a natural sense of the divine that gets triggered by the world around us.
So the bottom line for Plantinga is this. Evidence is simply unnecessary for faith to be rational. You don't need some complex philosophical argument to believe in God, just like you don't need one to believe your own mother loves you. It's a belief that can come directly from seeing a stunning sunset or a starry sky, and it's still perfectly reasonable.
Okay, now let's switch gears completely and talk about Karl Barth. His approach is way more radical. See, he wasn't worried about defending the believer's rationality. He was worried about defending God himself from being boxed in by our limited human logic.
Barth starts from a really stark place. He argues that, because of sin, human reason is basically broken. God for Barth is wholly other, just so completely different from us that our flawed, finite minds can't possibly build a bridge to him. There's just no point of contact between us and God that we can initiate.
So if we can't reason our way up to God, what happens? Well, for Barth, God has to break down into our world. Knowledge of God isn't something we achieve. It's a gift that has to come to us vertically, from above, through God's own choice to reveal himself.
And this revelation, for Barth, isn't some vague feeling you get from nature. Nope, it is incredibly specific. It has a name and a face, Jesus Christ. He is the one, single, solitary way that God has decided to make himself known to humanity, period.
And nothing illustrates this better than one famous story. Another theologian suggested that maybe we can find little bits of truth about God through nature or our own reason. Barth's response? A single thundering word. 9. Just no. For him, trying to find God anywhere else but in his direct self-revelation in Christ was a complete and total dead end.
So you see, for Barth, trying to prove God with human logic isn't just impossible, it's actually dangerous. Why? Because any God that you could successfully prove would be a God small enough to fit inside your head. It wouldn't be the real transcendent God. It would be an idol that you created in your own image.
So there you have it. Two thinkers who both arrive at the conclusion that you don't need proof to believe, but they get there on two totally different roads. Let's put them side by side to really nail down the differences.
This chart really lays it all out, doesn't it? Just look at their core motivations. Plantinga is all about defending the believer. He wants to show you're not crazy for believing. Barth, on the other hand, is all about defending God's total freedom and sovereignty. One is focused on us, on human reason. The other is focused entirely on God's action.
Now, if you want a really easy way to remember the difference between these two, I've got the perfect analogy for you. It's all about how you get onto a roof.
So for Plantinga, it's like this. You don't need a ladder of evidence to get to the roof because you were born on the roof. Your belief is already in a rational, secure place. But for Barth? Oh, his view is the complete opposite. He'd say not only is there no ladder, but you're stuck on the ground and you are totally incapable of climbing. The only way you're getting up there is if a helicopter, a divine rescue, comes down from the sky to pick you up.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. What does faith feel more like to you? Is it a firm, natural foundation you've always stood on, like you were born on the roof? Or is it more like a dramatic rescue from above, something you never could have managed on your own? Two brilliant thinkers, two incredibly powerful ways to think about a faith that doesn't need proof.